Be back. I can't believe I actually came back here, every semester you're like, "I'm not gonna come back here, I have too much to do, or I just wanna sleep for, every time I'm not in class," but I'm back here again. This is the B-roll on WICR, and not only I'd like to welcome back all the listeners who have been waiting around since the break ended to listen to shows, I also want to welcome back my fellow members, Eboard, and everyone else who will be coming back and doing shows this week. And I also want to welcome the newest members who will be beginning their first shows probably next week or so. And I wish you guys good luck because this is honestly a really fun gig and you're really going to enjoy this. So, there's actually a lot of stuff happened over the break in terms of sports news and wrestling news, but we're going to start with the most recent thing, which is the Royal Rumble that just happened this past Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona, in the Arizona Diamondback Stadium. And I felt like the show overall was good, and that hasn't been really been said about many main roster shows in a while. Like NXT, especially NXT that actually took place on Saturday, but in another arena. It was a great show overall, but more we're gonna focus on the Rumble today. So just looking at the card, I'm gonna be straight and say I missed the pre-show because I don't know, I'm not really interested in the pre-show, and a lot of the matches on that pre-show aren't like really that great. So I did skip out on that. Plus, I was going over to my brother's house, so I did have to find another way to watch, and I was luckily able to get my friend's network password and watch the show through that. Now, looking at the card, okay, yeah, kickoff show. We're gonna skip that. Of course, Nakamura got the U.S. title. I don't know. I don't really care about all this. Okay, here we go. Now, Asuka versus Becky Lynch, I thought was a good match overall. The two women did, try their hardest. And, I remember a few years ago, I used to sit and time the women's matches. The match would be 2 minutes, 5 minutes. This match was over 18 minutes long, showing how far the women's division has gone in the last few years, especially with the amount of talent in there. And they did have a really good match. Next on the card, The Miz and Shane McMahon defeated the Bar. I thought this was just a fun match. You know, you're not, of course, Cesaro is a great wrestler and Sheamus is underrated, though sadly he will have to hang up the boots soon because he does have a similar problem with his spine that Edge had that led him to retire back in 2011. So he is a bit so Sheamus himself is on a bit of borrowed time. However, that didn't stop this match from being just a fun little romp, like nothing spectacular, but still something to sort of get the crowd going and getting into the show. So that what happened there was the Miz and Shane McMahon did win the titles. Okay. I'm gonna say this was the best match on the card. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte for the Raw Women's title. Oh wait. Oh wait, it wasn't. Oh yeah. Oh, it was Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks. There we go. Yeah, Charlotte was in the Rumble later on. This match I thought was really, really good. Like just as a match in general, every submission that these two girls put on looked amazing and actually looked painful. There was one point where I was like, "Oh my god, this arm is so gonna break." Like even I was getting totally sucked into this match. And the ending also worked out. Sasha did retain her title, but this worked. And Ronda, I cannot sing my praises enough for her of how far she has come and improved since joining the roster last year. She has just been learning very quickly, especially I know this is the case with many MMA people or people who did like actual wrestling, like the wrestling that you see in high schools and colleges and stuff. Like those people are very good at adjusting to wrestling. And the way Ronda has sort of quickly broken out and become almost someone who's on the caliber of the Four Horsewomen is a great thing to see, and she will be a very valuable part of the roster for time to come. Oh, okay. The Women's Royal Rumble. I'm just gonna say, and I'm gonna tell you guys something that you could do with your friends. So me and my friends, there's three of us who talk wrestling. We had a pool basically where I generated numbers on like a random number generator on like Google, like between 1 and 30, and each of us got 10 numbers since there was obviously three of us. So that just means that we were able to have entries in the Rumble, and whoever won, we got bragging rights and things like that. So that's something you could do. Just next time, just ask your friends. Oh, you want to pool a Rumble number generator? Each person could get like 1 through 30, and you guys could come up with your own prize or bragging rights or whatever you want. So I'm gonna be honest and say this one started out slow, the women's Rumble, and it didn't really get good until Becky and Charlotte were at the end, and then from there, oh my god, it was so good. Both of them, obviously, because they've had this running feud going on for a while, they really were able to make the last part of that Rumble a special moment, and the right person won, and I haven't been able to say that about Rumbles in the past few years. Becky Lynch won the Royal Rumble, so she will be challenging for whichever title she chooses at WrestleMania. And so yeah, we'll get to the men's Rumble later, but I did think that the women's Rumble was a bit slow up until that, like the last minutes when the second to last person got eliminated and it was down to Becky and Charlotte. Oh. Oh wow, they have the order of elimination. Let's see who was eliminated before. Okay. Da. Oh god. Nia Jax, that was not good. All right. So the next match, and I feel like this match was sort of a victim to going on after a Rumble match because people were heavily enthusiastic about that, was AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan, which actually, if you watch it from a pure match perspective, it was a good match overall. And they were hitting submissions on one another. They were just going nuts. And something funny that happened over the weekend. So, to promote the Royal Rumble, I think it's Citizen Bank Park in Arizona. They had this special burger that they were going to release for the weekend, and you could get it if you went to the Royal Rumble. At the food stands. Daniel Bryan who is a vegan himself, was ranting about this burger, and I thought this was the funniest thing. I mean, he has turned heel, and naturally, he's gonna just go on Twitter and kind of rant a bit. So he's ranting about this burger, and everyone, people were sending gifts of, people cutting steak, and even Citizens Bank Park responded to the tweet and said, "Oh, anyone can get the burger." Like, and of course he was still, going at it. So that's one thing I kind of picture from this weekend. But anyway, this match though I thought was very good. Daniel Bryan retained, obviously. And we'll kind of see where this feud goes because obviously both men are amazing workers. They're generational talents. And we'll see what happens because when Daniel Bryan initially won the title, it was a bit of a wait, what moment? And then they ran with this heel turn that he had. And it's been actually good for him. It kind of revitalized him because he did retire and then he came back after retirement. People were enthusiastic about it. But after a while, it got a bit stale. So turning him heel was a good way to freshen him up. What was after this? Oh, okay. So now we have Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor for the title. Now, I noticed Brock actually was trying in this match. He was because if Brock decides to bump for you, your match could look really good. This guy will literally like crash himself and fly around the ring for you. And that's just what he did for Finn Balor, even though I did think the match wasn't as good as Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. It still was a solid match, and we'll see what happens to Brock Lesnar. Probably, well, we'll get to the actual Rumble match in a second. Whoever wins that, and I'll tell you in a second, will challenge him for the title. So, last but not least, the Royal Rumble itself. The winner, Seth Rollins, which some people think was the wrong decision, even though in my sort of random number generator pool, I ended up winning with Seth Rollins, but the Rumble started out pretty funny. Now, Elias Samson was obviously the number one entrant, and he was out there with his guitar singing, and people love him. They don't care if he, you know, hates on your sports team. People just love him. And then, funny enough, Jeff Jarrett of all people comes out. He was the second entrant in the Rumble, and they were gonna sing a duet. But what happened was then, Elias did kick him out of the ring. So with that happening, the Rumble it was weird because the Rumble didn't start exactly like on time. It didn't start like with the 90-second intervals immediately. And once that like once Jeff Jarrett got out of the ring, then the match actually started. And The Rumble was okay, and then Nia Jax entered because R-Truth got beat up right at the ramp. Oh, actually, the same thing happened in the women's Rumble where Lana had gotten hit earlier in the night during Shinsuke's match with Rusev, and she was trying to enter the Rumble, even though she was selling this injury to her leg, and so Becky Lynch entered instead of her, and that's how she was able to win the title shot. But this Royal Rumble, there weren't a lot of surprises. It was kind of mundane. And the typical Kofi Kingston spot was the same one. Not I also noticed Naomi is sort of the girl who's doing the Kofi spots in the women's Rumble, and also, she had the jump from the barricade to the stairs, which Kofi Kingston has done before. So I mean, that spot's kind of getting old. It could only get so creative after doing it a bunch of times. But it came down to oh yeah, wait. I gotta check who it came down to. I think it was Braun Strowman and I swear it was Braun Strowman and was it Braun Strowman? Anyone? Oh, here we go. Oh yeah. Okay, Braun Strowman was the last person to get eliminated. Good stuff. But even though a lot of people think he should have won the Rumble because he was off the roster for a while. I forgot exactly what he injured, and a lot of people wanted to see him have a match with Brock Lesnar, but that's not happening, obviously. So Seth Rollins naturally did win the Rumble, and that's pretty logic. That's pretty illogical. That's a logical choice. I'm a bit under the weather today, so my brain is kind of mushy. But overall, the show was solid. Much better than a lot of Rumbles where in the past few years there has been a bitter taste left in people's mouths because the person they like didn't win, or there was some backstage meddling, and the crowd would end the show just in a chorus of boos. But this time, there wasn't that issue really, which I think is a lot better than previous years. We'll say that. But in other news, Dean Ambrose is planning on leaving the WWE after WrestleMania, which isn't a huge surprise. He has not been getting booked well. And WWE kind of made this mistake because when the Shield first came up, it was kind of like Dean was the leader of it, which that was the kind of feeling that almost everyone was getting because he would talk the most, because naturally he was the better promo cutter of that group. And, Seth Rollins the worker, Roman's was like the cute one. And through that and like through his actual booking later on, like it wasn't great. So he's probably gonna leave after WrestleMania, and since it was a major star even before going to WWE, he could easily find himself in a new fad easily. So with that, we're gonna take a break, and I'll be back and we'll talk a bit of Smash Brothers. Why not?